Hello, everybody. Very, very pleased that you're here. I have a beautiful, beautiful guest today on Step into the Light, Step into Your Life. Rae Calnan. She's the Radiant Angel Energy, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about her before we dive into some questions and exploring who exactly she is. First of all, she really likes to help people reconnect with their divine presence and step fully into their purpose using angelic Reiki, guided meditation, past life regression, future life progression, and angel oracle cards. Wow. First of all, you're a spiritual guide and a healer dedicated to helping people reconnect with everything that I've just mentioned. So, in essence, embracing their soul's purpose and taking charge of their destiny. Your work empowers individuals to release the past, align with their higher self, and create a self abundance, love, and fulfillment. Your own journey, Rae, has been of healing and spiritual growth that inspires others, that inspires you to guide others and offering the tools and support they need to step into their power and live their soul aligned purpose. And I think you're an absolutely perfect guest today because it is about stepping into the light and stepping into your life. So before we dive a little deeper into what you do and offer, maybe just share a little bit about how you came to this path, please.
Yeah, certainly. That's no problem. I can do that. And I do apologize for any feedback, but headphones are not working today. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I come from a spiritual background. So my mum did palmistry and psychometry. My aunt did tarot cards. So I was kind of like brought up in that background. And my dad was quite happy trying taking my mum to spiritualist churches, and of course, me and my sister, being little kids, had to go along as well. So I've always had that background, and I dabbled as I got older in runes, and I did tarot, and various other things as you do. But then going into teenage life, that kind of like falls by the wayside, as all these things do, as you get into friends and boys and everything like that. But it was always there at the back of my mind, and all my classmates knew about my background and what my mum did. Even some of my school friends would cut little bits of their hair off for me to give my mum to do psychometry on, because they obviously knew our background. And then things just went normal as they do. And then in my 20s, I had a reading, and the reader said that he could see me going on a life-changing journey. He did actually mention Sri Lanka. So I went on to Lonely Planet, internet guide, and obviously the internet was kind of like fairly newish at the time. So I looked on there, but they had an article on Peru. So I actually read that, didn't get onto Sri Lanka one, thought no more of it. Then a few days later, I turned on the TV and there was a program on Peruvian bears by Stephen Fry. And because of my background, I kind of like, oh, there's no such thing as coincidences, just synchronicities. So I thought, let's look at Peru. So I got a few brochures, looking, going, my God, I can't afford to travel around Peru. This is way out of I don't have that money. And then a few months later, I had to change mortgage companies and they had an issue. So they had to give me some compensation, the exact amount of one of these trips. It's like, okay, so I booked it. And then just before I was due to go, the girl I was working with, her grandfather passed away, and she came into work and she said, I've just been cleaning my granddad's attic. And she brought in an old Peruvian map and an old Peruvian Lonely Planet guide. It was like, what are the odds? So I did go on this trip. It was absolutely amazing. I met so many people. Well, I met 11 other people from all different parts of the world, and we just all gelled. It was like we'd all known each other. And although lots of different things happened during the trip, the main one was when because I did the 4-day Inca trail up to Machu Picchu, and I was standing on Machu Picchu on one of the platforms. And as I looked down, just for a few seconds, I was addressing Incan people. I was actually addressing them. I saw them. I felt them. It was like, whoa. what happened there. I mean, obviously, I know that I went back in time to a previous lifetime. Anyway, I came back to this country, and it was an October day, and here in the UK, round about 3 o'clock-ish, it gets dark. It was miserable out. It was stormy. And I was sitting in the office and thought, "Do you know something? I'd much rather be out in that weather than sitting here in front of this computer." And that kind of just like set me on a different trajectory of what I wanted to do. And at that time, angels had started to come in, although it was the early stages of angels. So Doreen Virtue, Diana Cooper weren't really that known then. And because we didn't really get angel things, I mean, now you can walk down the street and you can pick an angel up. Back then, I had to sign up to a Christmas catalogue because you could only get angel stuff in the UK at Christmas. And that kind of like just led to me doing Angelic Reiki, and then again through synchronicities, that led me on to going back to doing, rather than doing tarot, doing oracle angel cards, guide meditations, led on to future life progression, past life regression, and and it was just all these synchronicities that came through that I ended up not only practicing angelic reiki and future life progression, past life regression, but also to teach it as well. And I'm still learning even now with everyone I meet. So yeah, that's basically my how I got to where I am at the moment.
I love that. And for the listeners, uh, I would really love for you to acknowledge the listeners. I would really like you each to acknowledge those moments that you recognize where Ray actually stepped into her life. That's what this podcast is truly all about. Is that acknowledgement, like you recognizing, and I'll use a kind of like the most recent one that in your beautiful story of your life there was that recognizing that you didn't want to be in front of the computer, but you wanted to be out in the elements in that storm and that weather and just feeling the power of that. Like I can really feel the power of that. I have a very vivid memory of standing at my front door with my kids, and it was torrential downpouring, and the kids running out into that rain and just fully embracing that. So I totally get that. And my husband and I are very much about that as well, embracing the rain, whatever it is, right? Or whatever the weather is. And there were also other points, like literally, there's so many parts of your life where you paid attention to those small signs, and that really is so important. Um, you have a childhood that I don't know what your emotional feeling is to it, but I feel the wonder and the magic of what it is because it is so different from what my own childhood was. I grew up like I was laying in bed last night thinking of the long bio that I want to write, right? And about growing up in a national park, witnessing grizzly bears and lynx and deer and elk and moose and bighorn sheep and mountain goats and Canada geese and bald eagles and gold eagles, and you can feel how totally different those two childhoods are. And yet look at where we both are. We've embraced whatever the magic is and made it so unique to each of ourselves, and I absolutely love that. So I love how you've got the angel wings behind you. I'm about dragonflies and how they are like inner children, and that's why I've got dragonflies behind me. And when I read your short bio on that, the little pieces that stood out was the angel oracle cards. The other piece too was the past life regression. I absolutely love doing that type of work. But tell me a little bit about the future life progression, because when you're stepping into the energy of helping people find their life purpose or a deeper connection in that, what exactly is that?
Yeah, basically moving into the future life progression is you get into it the same way as you would past life regression. It is all about getting into that relaxed state, that waking dream where your subconscious, your higher self actually comes forward. You're still in control, but you're allowing that to come forward. And it allows you to go beyond what is happening at this moment in time. It's when you go into the future, it's a possible future timeline. Nothing is ever set in stone with anything we ever do. Our timelines can change. We can change our timeline any second of the day. Which is why if someone has a tarot reading, and it's not what they said. That's because your timeline's changed. You didn't do something, or something else came along. But going into the future gives you a chance to see your possible timelines and how you can get there and what steps you can take to actually get there. So an example would be like a student I had. His mum sort of like brought him along, and she wanted him to do a particular course. He wanted to do another type of course, and there was this bit of conflict. But she was open to, that there is possibility. So I took him 5 years into the future doing the course his mum wanted him to do, and it was fine. He did really well. He was making money. Wasn't exactly happy with it, but it was something he was doing. Then I took him 5 years into the course he wanted to do after he'd finished the course and what he was doing. And, he loved it. He wasn't making as much money, and it was okay. He was getting on. So then I took him 5 years into his best possible future. And he actually saw himself doing something that was kind of like a combination of both, but something slightly different. And it actually turns out there was a course he could take that could do that. But in that 5 years in his best possible future, he was making money, he enjoyed himself, it was everything that he wanted. So when we sort of like came back to the present, he went and looked for that particular course, which he then took. And, the last I heard, he had actually started that particular job and that career, and he was now doing it. And that's because he saw that, he knew that if he took that course, that was the outcome that would come for him. And I have another lady who's living the dream in Morocco. She came to see me just to see where she was going to be in 5 years' time. And actually, she actually saw, felt, knew herself in Morocco. Now, she's always like traveling there, but and it was possible I might go and live there in the future, but what am I going to do? But she actually saw herself working for somebody else, but also running riads out there, and trips for people. And literally within a year, she had quit her job, moved out to Morocco. She now has a company called Jalago Travel, and she helps people on retreats. She finds them things to do, and in fact, she's even was on a recent TV program, Jane McDonald, who's known here in the UK, and she was actually on her show showing her around Morocco, and that was literally within a year because she'd actually seen the steps that she needed to take to do that. But it's not just 5 years into the future. You could possibly go into your next lifetime, into a future lifetime, which is what somebody else I worked with did. They went into a future lifetime and they saw themselves teaching. Now, the good news is for anyone watching, in the future, teaching schools are completely different to what they are now. Education is so more natural, community based. It's an enjoyable experience. And, obviously, she saw the way things were being taught and how amazing it was for young people. Now, the interesting thing is, she didn't have children in this lifetime. She wasn't a teacher. But it affected her so much, the changes she was making in the future, that she decided to come back and train to be a teacher to try and bring some of those future things she'd seen into today's mainstream. So, that's the power of going into the future with future life progression. You can see what the possibilities are. You can get to know the steps. You can ask your future self, how did I get here? What did I do? And then if you take those steps, it can come a lot quicker than maybe the 5 years or the future lifetime. So that's really what future life progression is. It's giving you the opportunity to see a possible future and the steps that you can take to get there.
Wow, I have I have so many light bulbs going off. I have so many questions going off. This is so very, very powerful. There is, um, I can feel the similarities of our work.
Mm.
And then, of course, we all, as mentioned earlier, we have our own very unique styles in that. And I've done energy work with people where I've had them feel into what is coming up. That like be open and moving past this. And really, for the all of a couple of years ago, I really moved out of this. Okay, I want to be moving out of human thinking. Really want to go a lot wider than what is my limited way of thinking in this, because it's a known fact that we use so very little of our brain. So this potential in there is incredible. I love the fact that you're giving people the opportunity to have a more and I'm going to take out the word more, to have a life that is in alignment with what they really want to have, but also to the ability to start to set things up for that next lifetime. Is that I just want to say wow. I want to say wow. Like holy cow. So um, I'm going to jump the gun a bit here. How do people get in to see you with regards to those type of sessions? Because I know you do the past life and other things as well. I love doing that stuff because I really help people rewrite the energy of those pieces. So I want to ask you a couple questions about that as well. But first of all, how do people find you to do the future life progression? I think it's so important right now.
And the easiest way is to either is probably go to my website, Radiant Angel Energy, and then just contact me, and then we can arrange an appointment so I can work in person or online.
I'm just going to change how I show that. I don't want it to scroll. Just give me half a second here. I want to put that back up so people can actually read it in a much better way. I love learning with these platforms. So say that again for us so that we just get to anchor that in, please.
Yep, it's www.radiantangelNG.co.uk.
Okay. And when they get to your website, what are they looking for?
They look for the contact me button, and then we have a conversation either via email or video call, and then we book an appointment either if you're in the UK near me, then obviously in person, but otherwise I can do it online anywhere in the world.
Love it. Yeah, I can just feel the power of this. I know I'm very excited about it right now. And what I love about that is what I was hearing, in each of your examples, true life examples. I really want to make clear to everybody, true life
Mm.
examples, is that we have an opportunity with this kind of work with Rae of that future life progression to really take a look at, you know, some of us have really big visionary ideas. When we bring the human design and things in and that, some of us have very big ideas. And when we're unsure on what the next steps are, Rae has a way now for us to tap into the possibilities, and then there's going to be natural guidance or an awareness that we can hang on to that moves us in that direction in a very, very powerful way. And as she also mentioned too, I want to be very clear about this, is that um, our future is not written in stone, that the potential is there to be very great at whatever we do. However, when we decide that this is what I'm going to be great at, we now have set this expectation in our way, and it can't come through in the very powerful manner. So as long as you step into this work being open about it, it's really, really remarkable about what can unfold. And my own life over this last year is a really good example of that, as I imagine yours is as well, Rae. So swing around to the past life regression as well, please.
Yeah, sure. So past life regression, is one of those amazing things where you can go back in time, whether it's this lifetime or previous lifetimes, because a lot of issues that we have in our current life, or maybe even that we're stuck and we feel we can't move forward, are due to things that may have happened in the past. So when you go back in time, you can actually see, experience what was going on at that moment in time, so you can understand it and learn from it, and actually send healing to it, so that it doesn't affect you in your current life. But sometimes it's not even what you think it could possibly, it could possibly be. An example would be a client of mine who came to see me because she was a little bit overweight. She'd find herself sitting at the at the kitchen table, snacking away on biscuits and things like that. And she wasn't really progressing in her life. She kind of wanted to go and do tarot reading, and do lots of stuff like that. But she just didn't have the energy, or she just didn't do it. She's procrastinating a lot, really, when you look at it. But a friend of hers said to her, "Bet you were starved in a previous lifetime. That's why you eat so much now." So that's what she came to see me for, because she wanted to work on, the weight issue. Anyway, we went back. When I work, I take people back to a past life that is of benefit for their highest good at this moment in time. Because sometimes what we think we need is not actually what we need to heal from. So I let my client's higher self, subconscious, dictate to where they know that they should be going. And she went back a couple of 100 years, and she had a very sedentary life. She wasn't poor, she wasn't starved. She was well looked after. Um, she didn't do much in that life, and her biggest regret at death was that she hadn't done anything with her life. She just let it go along and just allowed it to be as it was. So she looked, well, what could you have done? Can you heal from that, etc. And how that had translated into her current life was the fact that she didn't do anything in that life, and she procrastinated. So that was what she'd brought into this current lifetime. And the snacking on the biscuits and stuff like that was putting on weight, was her reaction to that sedentary life that she'd had. It was like, in that past life, she hadn't done anything, so why would she be doing anything in this lifetime? And by seeing that and understanding that, that set something in motion in her current life. And the last I heard, she was reading tarot cards, and she'd lost weight because she was actually doing that rather than sitting there. Oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll have a biscuit, today. So it just goes to show that what you think in your past life may not necessarily be what is causing issues in your current life. It may possibly be, if you've got an addiction in this lifetime, then it could be something from a previous lifetime that you brought into this life that you now need to heal and learn from. But it could be something completely opposite that is causing the issue in this lifetime.
Wow. So, first of all, I really love this conversation because you're reminding me of different clients I've had in my own lifetime. One person who wasn't a client, but someone that I know, one of their past lives was literally on a wooden ship, if you will, that froze into the Antarctic, or like the South Pole, I believe. And I mean, you can actually go back and look at records and see that ships were actually frozen in there and people died because of it,
Yeah.
and feeling trapped. And now look at what that's doing in this lifetime, this feeling trapped and having the inability to get out of the situation. And so what I'm seeing with this person is this very distinct pattern of having been trapped, recognizing, now they're recognizing, they may not be consciously recognizing that they're trapped, but they're verbalizing that they're trapped in some manner, and uh, being provided with opportunities to get out of that entrapment. It's a very, very powerful. Another example of this is a client who came to me who had had an injury at a gym, and that injury was shoulders and neck. And when they were laying on the table, if you will, uh, I asked if they wanted to know what I felt because they were just coming to me for energy work over this injury. Well, as it turns out, yes, they did, and they had been in the lock and stock barrel thing. I don't know what it's called, but you get the idea of what it probably was with the
Yeah,
hands and the
stock.
head and the yeah stock. Yeah, what do you call it?
Stock.
Stock. Okay, yeah. Uh, so when we also did, rewriting of the energy is what I call it. Going back and helping to change that whole of it so that they can now break the habits in this lifetime around that. And I mean, I can go on and on with stories like this, as I
Yeah.
imagine you well can too. So it's really starting to recognize how intricate the human being is. Like, if we're using, and I allude to the brain again, that we're only using X amount of part of it, well, the rest of it is holding what, or has the ability to do what. So here's where this past life and future life stuff comes in a very, very powerful way, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
What would you like to add to this? Like, it's a powerful conversation.
Um, excuse me. Time of year. Um, yeah, so it is kind of like just going with what comes into your life, and it's not necessarily always your past life. But also, with the past, it's not just about healing, but you can remember the gifts and the talents you had in those previous lifetimes. So if you find that you're not moving forward in this lifetime, it could be that there are gifts and talents from a previous lifetime that you can actually go back in time to actually see, feel, know, understand yourself doing. That when you do that, you can bring those abilities into your current life, and there's so many studies on this that show that those gifts, talents you had in a previous lifetime, you can bring into the current lifetime. So say you were, and I've had clients, there's a lot of women clients, obviously, they were healers in the past. They did herbs, they did things like that, but because they were prosecuted or they were scared, they didn't do them. So when they came into this current lifetime, they didn't want anything to do with that. But when they've gone back and they've seen and understood that, suddenly things in this lifetime open up for them, and the synchronicities start. So they'll suddenly switch on the computer, and there's a book on herbs that's on a discount offer. So they'll actually go, oh, actually, I can buy that now because I know I was able to use herbs in the past. So let me use them. Let me use them now. So the past, going into past life regression, isn't necessarily about healing and clearing things from the past, although there's absolutely a brilliant way of doing it. But it can also be, what gifts, talents did I have, and what can I bring into the current? And again, future life regression again can do that. What gifts, talents, as that lady did, do I have in the future that I can bring back to the current and use now? So working with timelines, going forwards and backwards in time, is great for both healing, but also for knowing, what gifts, talents you may have that you can bring into this current lifetime. And something else that I think is really relevant as well is look back at your childhood. If you don't want to do past life regression, but you think, well, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? Look back to what lit you up as a child before the world kind of like conditioned you not to be in tune with that. If I was to look back at my childhood, I loved kaleidoscopes as a child. I mean, I was fascinated with them. I do Angelic Reiki, which is sacred geometry, and the shapes created sacred geometry. I love them looking at the sky, the moon, the stars. My parents even bought me a telescope. I work with galactic, quantum energy now. Um, an example of at school, the students in my class wanted to do an Ouija board, and I've never been into that. That wasn't something I wanted to do. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it. But they said, could you come in and make sure we are safe whilst we're doing it? Well, of course, what do I do now? I hold space for people to explore and do those things. And I was a prolific reader and storyteller, making up stories, etc. And what do I do now? I guide people and help them tell their story. So, you can also look at your childhood to see what you enjoy doing that can help you in your current life to get an idea of who you are, what you could be doing, your gifts, talents, and maybe even your purpose.
Again, I can't emphasize enough how much I'm enjoying this conversation. When I look back at my childhood, and I love the way you used the examples there. I at the beginning of our conversation, I spoke about my childhood in the national park and seeing all these animals, and um, I love the medicine wheel because what is it doing? It's connecting with all these animals in different seasons, right? I so desperately wanted to be a veterinarian and had allergies and could not do that, but I love communicating with animals. So I'm an animal communicator. So I mean, I can go on and on and on. I loved Legos as a child. I help people with inner child work, right? Like yeah, beautiful examples. There was something else I wanted to say, and it's eluding me right now. And it will come back in if it's supposed to come back in. So I'm in thrall of you. Like I'm just feeling the energy of the beautiful fairy energy of yourself right now. I don't know if you've ever been told that, but I'm just really getting this ethereal feeling of whiteness and flowing and very magical person that you are. Um, how would you like to share yourself with others?
Um, oh, is in what way? Um, I'm me. I always have been me. I was one of those children that I never I've never fallen in line with what anyone else has done. So, when I was a child, if somebody said, "I don't want to be your friend because you won't do X, Y, Z," I was like, "Well, in that case, I don't want to be your friend anyway, because if you don't accept that what I want to do, then why would I want to be your friend?" So I've always had the confidence to be me. Don't get me wrong, I was shy as a kid, hence why I did amateur dramatics. I like drama because I could be somebody else. Um, so I was shy, but I was always confident in who I was, and I didn't really follow anyone else. And all the way through my journey, even at school, they knew my spiritual background. Even when I was working, you know, everyone knew about my spiritual background, that I was a Wiccan, I work with angels. I remember talking about unicorns in an office one day, and I could see my boss sort of like rolling, his eyes. Oh my God, she's off again, talking about whatever. But I must have got to him because I don't know if you do it in America, but we do it here in the UK. Is that we have a secret, if you work in an office, you kind of like have a secret Santa around about Christmas where you buy little surprise gifts for people. And normally they're joke ones. And I opened mine up and there was this little toy unicorn, a collectible one. I actually called her Harmony and she sits on my desk. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, but when unicorn. And my boss actually admitted he had bought the unicorn for me. So even though you're talking about it in the back of his mind, he had gone through it, and that's why I try and encourage people, and that's how I like, how I want people to see me, is that I'm my own unique person, and it doesn't matter if you are unique, and you've got your own way of being. that's how we are supposed to be. I want to be there to be of service to people, to help guide them, to shine a light and accept them for who they are and for what they bring to the table. You know, every single one of us is unique. Even people that do similar things like you and I do, we've got our own uniqueness to it. And that's how I want people to see me, as someone unique who can be a guide and help them remember their divine presence, and that allows them to be who their uniqueness, who they are supposed to be.
So very powerful. A couple people have actually commented in the chats about their childhood. Maria, she's now known as the Star Princess among a very beautiful
Oh,
group that she's in, and she's started learning about constellations when she was 6 years old. Another beautiful soul who is now very much the storyteller astrologer. She had a childhood of singing and watching the skies. So you can't make this stuff up, right? Like your childhood has a direct correlation to who you're being as an adult when you choose to look at the fun things that you did as a childhood, when you step into the energy of that. So what do you have? I guess you have a gift for everybody, correct?
I d I do, yes. I actually have a Connect with Your Guides and Angels PDF and guided meditation, or that you can choose a free future life regression recording. Although some people actually choose both gifts. If you want to use both gifts, you can use both gifts. So they are free for people. The Connect with Your Guides, Angels, it gives you different steps and techniques, as I said, as well as a guided meditation to meet your spirit guide, your angel. And then the future life progression gives you a chance to experience going into a future lifetime. Who knows what information you might receive there. And both of those are designed to help you on your spiritual journey, on your path of remembering who you are, why you are here, to have the confidence step forward into the life you are supposed to live now.
Well, there's so much potential in your gifts. As an example, I once gifted a beautiful soul this, what did I call it? Um, it was about going and following your lineage back. It was your own past ancestors. And the way that it had been channeled through me was to go back, I think it was like 3 or 4 generations. However, when you are open doing this work, the potential and the possibilities are massive. And one person actually took that 27 generations back.
Wow.
So this is the type of power that is being offered with these gifts that Rae has for you. And I'm leaving this link up here so that you can grab it. Whether you choose to step into the connecting with your angel guides, the potential with that is remarkable. My very, very, very first guide that I truly made a point of connecting with, before I realized that, the animals and the dragons were already connecting with me, the first one that I really recognized as a guide was Archangel Michael. To this day, the power of that connection is, it almost brings me to tears, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he is the most amazing connected to humanity archangel there is. He is the most easiest to call, the one who and you don't need to use him for protection. Like any of the archangels, they're just archetypes. So if you can't remember which archangel to call on for a certain thing, like Archangel Raphael is considered the the archangel of healing. Well, if you can't remember that, you can call on Archangel Michael to help help with healing. So yeah, if you can connect with any archangels, Archangel Michael is the easiest. And then there's also, your own personal angel, which is what the Connect with Your Guides Angels can help you do. Connect with your own personal guardian angel, and it's so simple. It is so, so simple. And one of the easiest things is to ask and speak to your angels every day. Parking angels, absolutely amazing. You know, thank you, my angels, for the most perfect parking space outside the front door. And there you it's going to happen. You expect it, and there's that parking space for you.
I just noticed that somebody didn't have access to the thing because apparently there's closed caption happening on Facebook while we're talking. So I did put it onto the into the chat. It will be on YouTube for sure. It's telling me there's an error on Facebook. However, it will go into the comments after the fact for sure. And I also wanted to say something about gosh, my mind is just going off in all kinds of directions
The
just because I'm
energy.
feeling the potential of what's going on here. Yes. I wanted to share something. I think this is really important to share. Yes. Um, with regards to Archangel Michael, now I've definitely, as I've mentioned, I have an incredible relationship with him, and I've also been um, in a very beautiful position to have an incredible relationship, which I didn't foster like I did my Archangel Michael, and everything for a reason, right? And that was with
Mm.
Jesus Christ. And now I really want to explain to you that uh, they see us as equals in that we don't have to feel this overwhelm that, oh my gosh, I'm in reverence, I'm in awe of this incredible being, because they witness you as an incredible being. And I say this because of one of my very first experiences with Archangel Michael was literally um, doing shamanic work actually, and I went to the upper world and was introduced to Archangel Michael, and I can see the whole thing, and yet in front of me was this pool, and he wanted to take care of me,
Mm.
and that brings up so much emotion in me even now because it's like he wants to take care of me, like me, and he is he, and I let it happen. And it brought in this energy of witnessing myself from a whole different point of view, and it was extremely powerful. And would you like to share your, I don't know, perspective or words of wisdom that kind of are in alignment with what I'm saying here to just kind of drive this point home?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we need to remember is that we are not separate from each other. We are not separate from archangels, from dragons, from galactic beings, from star families. We are all one energy. We just vibrate slightly on different dimensions, different levels, which is why we have our own uniquenesses. But we are all combined as one, and we are a collective. Our collective energy is so important. Yes, we're our own individuals, but when we come together in that collective energy and we connect with the archangels, dragons, other people, we create the most beautiful unconditional love and power that there actually is in the whole world, that surpasses the world. It's the universe, it is that one, and we are all there helping guide each other and nurture and look after each other. So when you're being of service and helping someone else, like Archangel Michael is helping you, you're helping him and you're helping the collective as well. So it's very important to remember that, yes, although we're unique individuals, and there may be people that are doing things that are not in alignment with you, you don't agree, but fundamentally they are still you and you are them. They are just another aspect. And when you can understand that, you can bring that back to that unconditional love, that they're on their path, you're on your path. But at some point, you will both be back at that one central point. So yeah, I think that kind of like sums that up.
Beautifully, beautifully. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So I have one final question for you, Ray. What is your words of advice for people who are looking to step into their life, like step into the light and step into their life?
I think through everything that I've talked about today, the main thing is, I think, and as to what I've just said, is to remember that you are not alone. You know, you are not on this journey by yourself. It may feel like it sometimes, you know, and you can have the dark night of the soul, you know. Yes, my childhood was, you know, compared to some childhoods, was absolutely amazing, you know, and you know, and I've never had that dark night of the soul where I was on the ground screaming and crying and suddenly, oh my God, you know, I'm enlightened. I was like that. Mine was just a normal thing. So you don't have to go through those issues. But did I go through somewhere where the rug was pulled from under my feet? Yes, I did, you know, and that was only in 2022. And that literally, you know, did floor me, you know, but because of the work I had done and the fact that I know I'm not alone, and the connections I had, I called on the angels, I called on the universe, and I had people around me that I called on, you know, as well. Well, they just came because I'd built up the community, you know. So I had the help, you know, going back into the past to clear things, having the healing done, etc. And it was reminded that I wasn't alone, and none of us are ever alone because there's always people out there who will help you. You just have to reach out. You know, if I go back years and years ago when when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have shared, you know, I probably wouldn't have reached out. I'd have done it all myself, you know, with my angels, my guides, etc. But I know now that reaching out and asking for help means that help is always there in whatever form it is. So it's really to remember you are never alone. There is always somebody out there. You are part of this collective energy. And will always find, especially in today's society with the internet, you know, say what we like about, you know, Google and YouTube, Facebook, etc. The positives are we can connect with other like-minded people, so we are never ever alone, and there is so much information out there, guided meditations, shows like yours, like mine, conversations going on that can help you, where you can connect with those people. So just know you are never ever alone. There is always support, whether it's angelic, spiritual, or other people. You know, we are a community. We are here to be part of a whole.
Wow. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence today. And that presence is, I see you. I see your light. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on your show. It's been amazing.
Okay, everybody, go check out her gifts and stuff. Bye.
Bye.